Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 6 of Learning Golang from Zero. My name is Paul and I'm a member of the technical staff here at Cockroach Labs. The concept of this streaming series is that starting with just a hello world program, I've been learning more and more about the programming language Golang, and you can follow along with me. So this episode is going to be about maps. What I'm doing is I'm using this book, Learn Go with Tests. It's a free book available online, and it both teaches Golang and it also gives you little exercises to check that you have grasped the concepts. Sometimes I actually just copy paste, but sometimes I actually do the exercises. So yeah, curious what have people been up to this week? For my week, so I work on the Cockroach Cloud product, which is it's the hosted version of Cockroach DB. For Cockroach DB, you can get the open source version and you can host it yourself, or you can use Cockroach Cloud where you just pay us to host it for you. And what I've been working on is our new free tier beta, which is pretty exciting. The idea is this is an alternative to something like Heroku's free Postgres offering, where you can actually get a little tiny Cockroach DB instance that is hosted by us and is completely free. What I've been working on is adding some new regions to the hosted offering. We started out with just one region in GCP, then we added AWS. Now we're adding like 4 more regions. And it's not really just as simple as just turn on, it's not really just flipping a switch. The main thing with adding more regions has been we need to have better automation and testing tools, just because if you have some manual process that you have to do, it's fine if you have to do it once. But if you have to do it 6 times, once for every region, then it kind of becomes a little bit cumbersome and error prone. So I've been working a lot on trying to automate and test the new regions that we have. So hopefully we'll be able to then in the future add even more regions without that much overhead. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to try, I should probably tell you how to do it. You could go to cockroachlabs.cloud and no, I forgot an S. Do I not know our website? Oh, do I have to sign in for this? I guess you probably do have to log in. I don't have 1Password in this thing, so I'm not sure how I can log in. But yeah, I should have set this up before. Anyway, you can go to cockroachlabs.cloud and spin up a free tier cluster. Does this thing have 1Password? Yeah, let me pull up my 1Password, just so I can prove that I'm not lying about our functionality. So this is a live demo, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work. It would be a little crazy if it didn't work. If this thing doesn't work, then we're going to have what we would definitely call an outage. So yeah, basically I've got my cluster screen, and then I go to create cluster, and the default option here is Cockroach Cloud free. So you can just click create your free database, and you do have to wait about 20 to 30 seconds, but it will give you a nice little database that you can use. So that's what I've been working on this week. Sora, hello. Today we're going to be learning about maps. Hello from Ukraine. Welcome to the stream. we used to have a lot more. We used to have a lot more users, or we used to have a lot more like viewers from Europe. So I'm glad that there's some people checking in. The coding guy, hello, welcome. I'm curious, are people experienced with Golang, excited about learning Golang? What kind of programming languages do people typically get into here? So yeah, this is giving me like a little. This is giving me like a connection string to connect to the database. I figure, you know what? I think I should actually connect to the database and make like a little query, because if I don't do that, then it's like, does this even really work? I think the demo needs to have a little bit of, oh no. Now now I'm like posting my password on the stream, so anybody can connect to this database before me. Select one. I'm going to do a select one star. And you know what? If you can type my password, then you can probably connect to my database as well. So what I'm going to do right now, because I don't want people connecting to my free database, I am going to do delete cluster. Ooh, meaty panda. Wow, that's kind of a dark name for a database cluster. I'm not sure if we got any viewers checking in from like the Sichuan province, but sorry about calling a cluster meaty panda. I've never seen a panda in person. Has anyone here like actually gone to the one of the panda zoos? So yeah, deleted that cluster, and it's only 12:08. So let's get started working on Golang. The coding guy says, "I know some Golang. I've been working on a personal project." Yeah, curious to hear what are you trying to do in Golang? So yeah, let's close this thing and take a look at the book. So yeah, we're looking at maps here. I mean, a lot of programming languages have some kind of map, or you might call it a dictionary, built like right into the syntax of the language. I'm thinking of something like Python, JavaScript, and Ruby. In all of those languages, you'll write something like, with like curly braces and colons, I guess. I actually don't know Ruby, but they've got like built-in mapping functionality. By the way, can you guys see the chat? I feel like it's probably too small to see. I'm trying out this new like Restream chat product that actually lets me, as you can probably see, put the chat on top of the other like of the other apps, but I think I probably made it too small. Uh-oh, now I can't like change it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I got to figure out how to work this chat thing. It's kind of crazy because you can click through the chat, or you can like click into the chat application. I could also just hide the chat and like announce chats out loud, which I normally do anyway. So yeah, we're going to store things by key value pairs. Okay. I'm guessing there's probably like a hash map backing this. It could possibly be a tree map. So yeah, let's do, oh yeah, so this thing will do test-driven development. I think I'll probably just copy paste the test. Okay, so we can actually see that there is like built-in syntax for maps in the language. So when you talk about like a language like Java, for example, Java does not have syntax for maps. It does have maps built into the standard library, but you don't actually have like a map keyword. Coding Guy says, I'm working on a Kanban board manager for terminal called TaskGo. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I love Kanban. I use like Kanban for my personal life. I don't know. I get my stuff organized in like maybe just like maybe I'm a little too particular about how I like to organize stuff, but I definitely love that concept of a terminal Kanban board. That sounds like a really great way to just also kind of learn about Golang too. So what are we doing here? It looks like we're creating a new map. We're populating some data into the map. We're calling this function search. And we're searching for the test key. And so this should just be doing a map lookup. I guess we're going to just write a function that does a map lookup. That seems fine. So I'm going to make a new directory and call it map or something. Then I'm going to use my favorite command, pb paste, and then paste it into maptest.go. I'm curious, for people who have used other languages, what maps do you like and dislike? I will say one thing, I really like having maps that are built into the languages. One thing that's pretty annoying about Rust is creating a new hash map in Rust is it's kind of annoying because you have to so you actually have to create a mutable hash map, then you have to call an insert on the hash map. And it's so much work compared to just writing out a map literal. So there's this Rust crate called map lit that you have to if you want to have a map literal, you can use this macro. And it's fine, but it's kind of crazy that you use an external library to have these nice map literals in Rust. So this is an example of I think that the Rust map ergonomics are kind of annoying. So let's see, we created maptest.go and let's run the test. So I think I could just do go test dot. The coding guy says, it's been a good experience working on the Kanban project. And I also followed the same book and a few others. Oh yeah, I'd love to hear what other books you recommend. Undefined function search. Great. Okay. So that's what we wanted. Let's try just writing a function that will make this work. I think I kind of already know how to do this. So I'm going to call the func search. And then I need to take in a map as the argument, as the first argument. So this is a map string. What? So this is is this how you write generics in Go, I guess? It's kind of funny because one of the type is it's in brackets, but the other type is just chilling out here. It makes me think that this syntax is only works for maps and is I know Go doesn't have flexible generics. So I have to say this syntax is a little weird. So I need to take a map of string. I'm going to just call this M. One thing that's interesting about Golang culture is that a lot of programming languages, they'll kind of tell you not to use one-letter variable names. But in Golang, I think it's it's kind of, no. Shaquille's asking about Cobra for the CLI. One thing I can tell you is that we do use Cobra at Cockroach Cloud. However, I haven't made too many CLI commands, so I don't know. I don't have an opinion on Cobra. So let's see. We need to take a key, basically. And that's going to be of type string. So what I'm going to try and do, this is interesting. This function is not returning an error. One thing that's interesting is how would you want this to behave if it does not find the key in the map? I think we'll have to add some sort of, you could either return the empty string, which might be a little confusing, or you could return an error from the function. So let's try just doing mkey. My My rule of thumb for programming Golang, which I think has been pretty good so far, is if you don't know what to do, just try Python syntax. And I think it works pretty well from the test. The coding guy says, I like using maps in C++ since it gives you both unordered and ordered maps. Interesting. I know that Java and Rust also have unordered and ordered maps, but I also find the syntax in those languages to be a little more of a pain. Is map syntax in C++ nice? I admit I know basically zero about C++. Oh, okay. I I made a couple mistakes here. So one is I need to actually write the return value. I was too used to I was like too used to functional programming where if you just put a value in your function, if you put a value at the end of your function in a language like Rust or Scala, it'll automatically return that value, which I am a big fan of. But I also forgot to define the return type of my function. So let's try that again. Yay, it worked. So let's do a commit. Shaquille says map of key val. Whoa, did I do something wrong there? Or is that just like the general syntax? Let's see. Declaring a map is somewhat similar to an array. Okay, right. So it starts with the map keyword. And I'm assuming that this is an unordered map, like it's backed by a hash map. Probably not an ordered, probably not a tree map, but I'm not sure about that. So the key type is special. It can only be a comparable type because without the ability to tell if two keys are equal, we have no way to ensure that we are getting the correct value. QN Warcraft want to become famous, buy followers, primes, and viewers. I'm gonna have to talk to the marketing department. I don't know if anybody's on. What's our marketing budget for purchasing Twitch followers? Seems like a pretty smart investment. Right. So the key type needs to satisfy certain constraints. I think that's pretty common across all languages. I want to say, like in JavaScript, the key of a map, if I remember correctly, actually has to be a string specifically. It can't be any other type. Whereas, a language like Rust, the key type is enforced using trait bounds. By the way, I've upgraded my T game recently. You can't even see the whole thing on screen, but here, I can move away. I got this 2-liter tea carafe. It's basically like a thermos that you can pour from. Pretty amazing. I'm going for quantity, not quality now. So the value can be any type you want. It can even be another map. Oh, okay. So you can put a map of maps. That's normal. I like that. So you can have like a nested map. Cool. So, okay, we did this. Yeah, well, I kind of skipped this step because I just implemented it. Refactoring the test now, eh? The coding guy says, yeah, maps are unordered in Golang. Okay. So what do we got to do now? Assert strings. Yeah, so we're writing this helper function. One thing, I don't know. It's I would say that this book is kind of heavy on the refactoring, but I think it's trying to get you in the practice of refactoring. I'm a little concerned that the chat might be making it hard to read the text of the book. Is that true? I'm pretty sure it's true. I'm gonna have to move the chat off screen because I am. Oh no. Oh, I can't grab the chat. Well, maybe the chat's gonna stay on screen because I literally cannot move it now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pressing the right button, but maybe it's just like a little buggy. So now we got a chat hanging out here. We got to just see through it. So, okay, we're doing this assert strings helper. And we can improve our dictionary's usage by creating a new type around map. Ooh, and making search a method. Interesting. That's fun. So let's try that out. First, I'm going to do go test. Okay. So the refactor worked, or at least it didn't break the tests. The coding guy says, yeah, it's not very beginner friendly. Shaquille says, are you planning on any Rust series? Yeah, so I actually usually, not for Cockroach, because we don't use Rust at Cockroach, but on Saturday mornings, I do Rust streaming. So I'm working on like a little city sim game that runs in the browser using WebAssembly. So yeah, you can check in on Saturday mornings to watch me stream Rust. The game is actually getting pretty close. Like it's actually now running in the browser, and you can like create your little city in the browser. So I think I'm pretty excited about that stream as well. So let's make a custom type, and we can just start by, should I copy their test? Yeah, I think I'm going to just copy their test because yeah, this isn't that interesting. But I'm going to try and actually implement the function myself because I think that's a good exercise. So map.go. First, we need to make a new type. So we learned about this last time. When you make a new type like this, a dictionary is actually, a new type is it's not interchangeable with your old type. I think this is how you do it. So it's not a type. I would say it's not a type alias. I'm not totally sure if I'm using the word correctly. I would think of a type alias as being interchangeable, but if somebody knows more about that stuff, let me know. So we want to include the dictionary, and then we need to do the thing to make the function into a method. I think we have to put the dictionary over to the left of the name of the function. I'm not sure about that. Ooh, but how do I get the map out of the type, or can I just index into it like this? I'm not actually sure. Oh yeah, Shaquille, by the way, I don't stream on the Cockroach YouTube. On weekends, I just stream on my personal Twitch. So you'd have to look me up on my personal Twitch. So curious, yeah. Do you guys think this is gonna compile? I feel like I'm doing something wrong here, and I don't think it's gonna compile. But let's give it a try. Oh, wow. So I guess that was fine, huh? Cool. All right, that's great. I'll call this commit method. Oops. I also need to pass the commit-a flag to add the files that I changed. So now what we want to do, supply a word that's not in the dictionary. Yeah, so that was what I was talking about earlier. I would say I would like to return an error here. And I think that's also what the book is proposing. So let's see, we got we got the known word and then we got the unknown word. Cool. So I think for the test, I'm just going to copy paste it. And yeah, so we need to just return an error. That should be straightforward. So I need to replace my test search function, delete that, and then paste in from their example. Maybe I'll just run, well, it won't even compile because I changed the signature of the function. So it says I'm trying to get two variables, but my function right now doesn't return an error. So it's not compiling, which is nice. So this is string comma error. I forget if does anybody know JavaScript here? I want to say when you're doing node, the error is actually the first thing that you return, and then you return the data. Whereas in Golang, it's backwards. Is that true? So now I need to check for membership in the dictionary. I don't know how to do that. I know that Python has an in keyword. So let's just go ahead and try the system of write Python and see if it works. So I want to return, it kind of looks like they're actually returning the string type here, which is a little weird. I'm going to say that it's errors.new, and then I'm going to return could not find the word, could not the word you were looking for. It still says you need to put string comma error. Ah, okay. So my return type is actually like a tuple here. So I think you're saying I need to put parentheses around that. Thank you very much. So let's try this Python type strategy and see if it works. I don't think it will work because the reason I think it's not going to work is because the in would need to be a keyword in Golang, but as you can see, the syntax highlighting in Vim is not coloring it green, which makes me think it's going to say, hey, what are you doing here? This is not real Golang syntax. So let's see. Yeah, unexpected in, expecting curly brace. So it did not like that at all. So I'll need to go to the answer key for this. Ah, so an error can be converted to a string with the dot error method. Great. So I didn't notice we're actually calling dot error there. Cool. So we fixed this thing, but oh, and I actually need to oh yeah, this is totally wrong. I need to return the nils in the places, like I always need to return a tuple. But okay, errors.new was nice. I think I might need to import errors. Oh, okay. This is fascinating. So when you do this lookup, it actually does return an error type that you can just ignore. So I'm just going to call this value, comma. Oh, it doesn't return an error. It returns a Boolean that you can just ignore. I'm going to call it maybe found. It's just kind of a matter of taste how to name the variables. So now I need to check if it is not okay, or not found rather. And then one thing that's kind of interesting in Golang, I'm not sure, I don't know whether I like this or not. You typically don't use an else statement if you have a return in the if. You actually will just put the rest of the code outside of the else. I don't know if people like that or not. For me, I think I see the point, but I haven't really decided. So is it going to work now? Cannot use nil as type string in return argument. Oh yeah, so that's an issue. What I'm trying to do here is return nil for a string, but I guess I'm not allowed to do that. I think I need to return an empty string. That's kind of interesting in Golang that like a string cannot be nil. I think people have talked about how Java having basically anything except for a primitive can be null is sort of, it's been called the $1 billion mistake in Java. Whereas in Golang, a lot of different things can be null. I think any pointer probably can be null, or nil rather, but not a string. And then JavaScript is even crazier because anything can be, well, you can have both null in JavaScript and undefined, which I think makes it even more complicated. I'm not a big fan of null and nil in general. I like languages that have minimal null and nil. The coding guy says, yeah, it cannot be nil since it is default initialized with empty string. Fair enough. So undefined errors. This was the thing that I said earlier, but I didn't follow it up. We actually need to import errors, which I should have known. Ooh. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. Map.go line 8, value declared but not used. Oh, yeah. So I'm pulling value out here, and then I'm redoing the lookup here. I think technically that might work fine. Not sure, but I should just use value because I already did the lookup once. Sora T likes options. Yes, options are very nice. Although I have to say, I don't know. No, I like options. Options are amazing. So what Sora T is referring to is basically the in Rustlang, by default, most types cannot be null. And if you want to have a null for that type, you have to wrap the type in an option. And I think once you start programming that way, it's pretty addictive because you don't have to check or worry about something being null. You can just know that there is data in your variable. So the test was passing. What did we just do? We did import errors. Yeah, and so this is like returning it can handle the empty case, I guess you'd say. Laura says, I'm currently interacting with Linux kernel directly, and I really like that I can't just forget to check the result. That sounds nice. One thing that we do a lot in Go at Cockroach is there's like linters where a lot of the time you have to like the linter will yell at you if you're not checking a certain return value, and it and actually our Go code won't even compile if there's unused variables, which I think maybe all Go code won't compile if there's unused variables. So I think there's a lot of Golang linter options that that can be accomplished with that can like really help prevent mistakes. Error handling in Go is mostly if result equals nil, right? Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's more than just that, but yeah, you basically anytime you get like a result, you have to check if it's nil or not. And then if it is nil, you might wrap the error and rethrow it. It's very simple. So we've got a magic error in the search function. What's the magic error? Yeah, so this person wants us to refactor. Do I have to refactor? I think I want to skip the refactoring because it's not that interesting to me, and I don't think that it's that educational. So yeah, okay, we need to do an add test. Okay. So I'm going to copy this test and get started. Oh yeah, so it does. I guess I maybe do need to do the refactor because if I'm not using the same, I don't know. If I'm not using the same code they are, I'll have to like edit the test. I think it'll be fine though. So test add. Okay. We're gonna make a dictionary. We call dictionary dot add. We add presumably the key and the value. We need to make sure that the dictionary will give us back the value. We need error to be nil. That's great. Cool. So I think I can write this function myself. Let's run the test first. So undefined field or method add. That's what we expect. So let's write an add function. A lot of this we can kind of copy from the search function. And we do not need to return an error for this because we'll say that adding to a dictionary is always going to succeed. Ooh, so how are we going to do it though? B key equals value. I feel like this is not going to work. This would work in a lot of other languages, but I feel like this shouldn't work in Go. Oh, and I actually don't even want to return anything. The coding guy says, do you generally use Vim for most of the development or something else? So I'm just using Vim for this stuff because it's pretty simple, but for my actual work at Cockroach Cloud, I use Golang from JetBrains because it's really powerful and we have a ton of code. I really like IntelliJ and Golang because you can just like zoom around in the code super fast. And I think that would also be good for a project like Cockroach DB. You can probably tell that I'm not that good at Vim. Oh, wow. I can't believe that worked. That's great. Oh yeah, I did set up my Vim RC because now I have syntax highlighting. So that's a nice change. I got some people complaining about not having syntax highlighting, which is fair. I personally love syntax highlighting, so I was just too lazy to set it up. So this is an add method, method. There we go. Cool. So Sora says the result error equals foo is returning two variables, either an error or a result, with the other being nil. Exactly. Yeah, because Go, I mean, right. If you were in a language like Scala or Haskell or Rust, you would return some kind of error type, which would be an algebraic data type, which you could also call a sum type, and I think there's other names for it, but it's kind of like an enum where it can either be a result with some data in it or it can be an error with some data in it, but it can't be both, which is, I would say, a pretty cool approach to error handling. Write the minimal amount of code for the test. Oh, I think I already wrote it. So, an interesting property of maps is that you can modify them without passing as an address to it. This may make them feel like a reference type, but as Dave Cheney describes, they are not. A map value is a pointer to a runtime.hmap structure. All right, I think I need somebody to help me understand what's going on here. So they're saying normally you would have to, in the previous learning Golang from zero, you would have to pass a pointer to a structure if you want to modify it, because otherwise Golang will just copy the struct and then you'll only be working on the modified version of the struct. So I think what they're saying here is that the map is actually already a pointer. And so anything that you do with the map, it's as if you're passing it by reference. I guess does anybody understand, like, what's the difference between a reference type and just having a pointer to a structure? Like, is that like is that just like a semantic difference there? I'm sure somebody knows like what this actually means, but I'm a little confused. Like, I would have said a map feels like a reference variable. Oh, interesting. In the very early days, what we call maps now were written as pointers, so you wrote star map of int to int. That's a pretty cool piece of Golang trivia. I really like learning about the history of how programming languages evolved because it tells you so much about, you know, what the language is learning about the requirements of the users and what works and doesn't work over time. So it sounds like somebody actually sounds like originally maps were written with a star, but no longer. That's cool. Sora says it's kind of how JavaScript does it. Yeah, it's very like JavaScript to me, or especially Node.js. I'm not sure if all JavaScript does that. Large data bank. Thanks for tuning in to explain Golang to me. The way I think of things, there are no reference types in Go at all. All types are value types. Maybe I just don't understand like what people mean when they say a reference type. Sora says a reference variable sounds like a smart pointer to me. Yeah, so in Rust, they definitely use in Rust, a reference is a smart pointer where it will give you additional guarantees. That's a really good point. Okay, this is great. So Dave Cheney explains, what is a reference variable? You can declare an alias to an existing variable. This is called a reference variable. Okay. And this is some C++ code where 3 different things refer to the same memory location. Sure. A write to A will alter the contents of B and C. Unlike C++, each variable defined in a Go program occupies a unique memory location. Okay, so this just declared 3 different integers. But I mean, this program is obviously not working the same way. Why not just have... I feel like this isn't like an apples to apples comparison here. It is not possible to create a Go program where 2 variables share the same storage location in memory. Okay. It is possible to create 2 variables whose contents point to the same storage location, but that is not the same thing as 2 variables who share the same storage location. Okay. I think I see what what this person is talking about. What confuses me is, like, I'm not totally sure that this is a universal definition of what a reference means. Maybe it is, and I just don't know stuff. Most likely it is, but in Java, is a reference... I always thought that, like, a reference in Java was actually like a sort of like more like a smarter type of pointer that also is integrated with like the garbage collection process. Okay, maps and channels are not references. If they were, this program would print false. Let's see what they're doing. This is great. So we're creating a new map using this thing make. We have not learned about make yet, but I think it's just declaring a new thing. Sora says, is the chat window being on top of the browser intentional? Yes, but I tried to move it. So my issue here, let's put the browser over here. So I thought that this like transparent chat would help me save some screen space and keep the code big enough. But actually, the problem is I'm supposed to be able to move it, but it stopped working. So, oh, maybe what if I highlight the app like this and then I can move it? No. Yeah, so my chat window basically got stuck and I wanted to like resize it. So I'm going to need to like experiment with that. But it was originally intentional and then it got stuck, and so now it's here. But that's how it goes. I'm, trying to improve my stream user experience, and not all of the implementation will work perfectly. So, okay, maps and channels are references, right? No. So we make a new map, we create a new variable, which is of type map. And we're going to call, oh, what? Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay. So what they're doing here, they're creating a new map here. They're calling function on this thing, and then they're assigning m to, they're assigning a new value to m. But what is this going to do? This is just going to like, So if the map was C++ style reference variable, the m declared in main and the m declared in function would occupy the same storage location in memory. But because the assignment to m has no effect on the value of m, in main, we can see that maps are not reference variables. Large data bank says, the way that I think of things is that every variable you pass to a function in Go is copied by value. If it's a pointer, though, the pointer is copied by value, which is kind of a no-op to the thing the pointer is pointing to. Shaquille says, make will initialize the map, var only declares it. Oh, okay. And so this program will actually print out true because the thing that's initialized. So is this like shadowing? Like the variable m here is not the same as the m here, right? It's initializing like this new variable. I think I kind of get it. So it has to do with the relationship between like variables and values. Sora says, is copying a pointer really a no-op with garbage collection? Yeah, I would imagine, like for the purpose of the programmer, like from what the programmer sees, I guess it's kind of a no-op, but it might have to do something under the hood to make sure that it doesn't accidentally get cleaned up. But I think that thing, I mean, I would guess it's probably pretty cheap, if not. Yeah, right. I think performance-wise, yeah, right, exactly. So there's like, it's a no-op from the point of view of the programmer, but potentially not. Okay, not to the garbage collector. Large data bank says the m equals here is a no-op to the original m because it's a copy. So this m is not the same as the original m. So it copies. It's not copying the data of the map. It's just copying the pointer of the map. And then is this actually like assigning a new value to the pointer? It's a copy by value. It's a copy of the pointer to the data. Okay. I think I can understand this. I'm not sure if I can explain it though. So maybe I don't actually understand it. So we create an empty map, or this is not an empty map. We create a nil map on this line. Then we call function. When we call function actually, the m that we see here is not the same as the m that we see here. So when we call function, we're actually making a copy of the pointer. And then on this line, we assign a new value to the copy of the pointer. But that doesn't matter because this copy of the pointer is going to get thrown away when function exits. Large data bank says assigning to m is replacing the copied pointer with a new pointer to the map you allocated with make. Yeah, got it. Sora says, do you know the semantics of deep copies in Go? Because that was one of the pain points I had with GC'd languages. That's a good question. I definitely do not know those semantics. So let's go back to this conclusion. I think, it looks like probably not going to finish up this maps thing, but I really enjoy learning about this reference and pointer stuff. I think it's really great to kind of understand how the language works more deeply. So the key point is if you were passing by reference, then this m would be the same as the other M, and it would work. The code, honestly, I would say that passing by reference would be a little bit more intuitive to most programmers, because they might expect that this line would modify the original M, but I think it's just like, you got to make sure that your mental model is aligned with the how the language actually works. So let's see. Maps can be nil. Okay. A nil map behaves like an empty map when reading, but attempts to write to a nil map will cause a runtime panic. That seems a little bit crazy. I'm not sure if I like that behavior. So it says you should never initialize an empty map variable. You should do either this thing with a map literal. They've got, notice the empty curly braces here, very important, although I think easy to miss. And the other option is just calling this make function. Cool. Well, I think this was great. I learned a lot about pointers and references. My goal for future streams, I want to try and actually, I've been doing 1 hour streams, which I know is kind of low. I'd like to work up to slightly longer streams, but I actually scheduled a meeting at 1 p.m. today, so I'm not able to do that today. Definitely looking forward to streaming longer in the future. So thanks so much for everybody who tuned in to to chat about maps and to help me understand the semantics of maps in Golang. Really appreciate it. It's always fun to interact with people. So next week I think it should be pretty straightforward. It's going to be, finishing up whatever else we have in this maps chapter, and then potentially going on to dependency injection. That should be fun. I think it's always hard to do dependency injection in a really elegant way. So yeah, signing off for now, and thanks so much to everybody for tuning in.